So the Mardu are the Horde. They worship the speed of the dragon, and they have sort of maneuverability on their side. They're nomads, and they're on horseback, and they're archers, and they can just sort of descend on the other clans and pillage and take what they need.
Their strategy revolves around attacking before the enemy has time to set up. They are not looking to establish government where they rule. They're not looking to create a new civilization. They're looking to take your stuff, make it theirs, and eat it, use it to fight tomorrow.
The Mardu clan is centered in red and also has black and white. Those are the three colors that are the most aggressive colors. When we look at aggro decks, the decks that sort of attack the most aggressively, obviously white and red are usually the mainstay, and black is sort of secondary. But these are the three colors that if you want to have an aggro strategy, is where we tend to look to do that.
I love Zergo Helm Smasher. I designed Zergo Helm Smasher. He is almost exactly the same as he was handed off from design. He was a 7/2 with haste that had to attack, that was indestructible on your turn. So he would just get in there. He goes for it. You don't even have to think about it. Go and attack with him.
Raid is the Mardu mechanic, and it's found on spells and abilities that get better if you've attacked with a creature sometime during the turn. Now, that creature doesn't have to still be on the battlefield. If it died in combat, you still attacked with it, so you're going to get the raid bonus. Raid bonuses come in a pretty wide variety of ways, so you're going to have to read each card carefully to see what it does. A lot of raid cards, raid abilities on cards use the word instead. So that indicates a replacement effect that's going to do something instead of the normal effect of the spell. Like instead of 4 damage, it's going to deal 5 damage. Some raid abilities don't use instead, and that indicates an additional effect. So you get the normal effect of the card, and you get the raid bonus.
One of the aspects of raid is that you want creatures just sort of as fodder, that you want to play that role of the Horde and make some bad attacks sometimes, ones that you know you're going to lose because you can cast your raid creature after combat and you get the bonus anyway. And that's a lot of fun, and some of the time it can be really intimidating because as you're the opponent, you're getting attacked by these little 1/1s that you know you're going to beat. And do they have a trick? Are they going to cast a raid creature? You don't know. And so there's a great tension there.
It comes from basically the same school of thought as Landfall, in that we want to give players a hoop to jump through to get a bonus. Oh, if you do this, you will get this kind of bonus. But it's a hoop the game naturally drives you towards. It's a hoop that is easy to achieve, that you want to achieve anyway, not some backwards, out of the way hoop counter to your goals, like, oh, discard a card from your hand to get a bonus. This is, oh, if you play a land, you get a bonus. Landfall worked. It was popular. It made the game feel good. If you attack, you get a bonus. Well, that's what you want to do. That's how you win the game.
There was a point in the process where we weren't sure that there was actually room for as much complication in the set as Morph brought, but the consensus that we came to at that point was that too much of the set had been built around Morph, and Raid was one of the big reasons why Morph survived that attack.
There's a lot of bluffing in this set because you've got Morph with hidden information, you've got the Jeskai with prowess, your combat tricks, you suddenly have these extra combat tricks, you don't know how big creatures are, and then you've got Raid, cast spells after combat that you don't know why the attacks were happening. It's fun.
So the Mardu clan likes to attack early and often, so then you can use your raid cards to get a bigger effect. So the Ponyback Brigade is a card that I personally like a lot. I played a lot of this in drafts internally. And you get 3 goblins to go with your Ponyback Brigade, and you attack and you use your Trumpet Blast or some other thing that pumps up your whole army to get through and deal the final points.
Crackling Doom's sort of a big out to many problem cards. Occasionally there are things that you just can't target. Your opponent might have out a big hexproof creature, and you just have no real way to solve it other than a huge sweeper. And if you want to be playing creatures yourself, you might not want to go that route. So Crackling Doom is just this nice way to get rid of your opponent's best creature off the board, and they take some punishment as it goes away.
Wingmate Rock is this card that shows up with its companion if you've been able to get your raid bonus. We really liked having all these cards in Mardu that gave you additional creatures so that if one of them went down, you could still keep getting your raid bonuses.
One of the things that happens in Magic is there are certain abilities that are very synergistic, but sometimes are a little too synergistic. So a good example of that is First Strike and Death Touch. Now, First Strike traditionally is in red and white, and Death Touch is in black and green. So most of the time, they don't overlap only because they're not sitting in the same colors. But they are very, very potent together. Well, once you have a card that overlaps colors that have both abilities, we could add them together, and Ankle Shanker really takes advantage of that.
You'll see on a lot of Mardu warriors, there are spiky projections coming up from their shoulders. This is not just a cool place to hang a banner that looks awesome when you are riding across the battlefield, but also emulates the wings of the dragon. It kind of quotes that shaped look.
We ended up with a sub-theme in Khans of Tarkir for each enemy color pair that was independent of the clans. The one that we settled on for white-black was warrior tribal, so there's a small smattering of warrior tribal things. Eric likes very much for there to be some cards in the set that point to every sub-theme that are also constructed worthy, and I think that's a really great thing to shoot for. Blood-Soaked Champion is, we think, a pretty saucy warrior. I know cards like Gravecrawler have been pretty successful and constructed in the past, and we wanted just a really resilient but also really cheap creature that would serve you well if you wanted to follow our warrior direction.
Red, white, black, the speed of the dragon, the Mardu.